Welcome to Homeschool for American Adults. Hi, I'm Donna Marie. Welcome to week 5. This is the start of phase 2, Imaginative Stories. That means we get to make up fun and creative stories. You can write about things that might not happen in real life, but could happen in your imagination. In this phase, you'll have the chance to dream up new worlds, characters, and adventures. Let's see what we can create together. Imaginative stories are make believe stories. They can be about anything you dream up. This week, we'll practice writing connected sentences that tell a complete story from your imagination. By the end of today's lesson, you'll have written your very own short imaginative story. What is an imaginative story? When you write an imaginative story, you can make anything happen. You might give animals the power to talk, or you might fly to the moon. It's your choice. Imaginative stories are made up, not real. You can have magical or impossible events, and it can happen anywhere, real or imaginary places. Here's an example of my imaginative story. Let's read it together. Ready? Let us begin. One day, I opened a box and a tiny dragon flew out. Now, that you know what imaginative stories are, let's start with our first writing prompt. Let's look at our first imaginative writing prompt. If I could fly. Remember, this is a make believe story. You can use your imagination to go anywhere you want. First, think about where you would go if you could fly. Would you soar over the ocean, fly up to the clouds, or maybe even visit the moon? Next, think about what you would see. Maybe you'd see birds flying beside you, a rainbow in the sky, or mountains far below. Finally, imagine who you might meet along the way. Could it be a superhero, a friendly dragon, or even your best friend? When we write this story, we'll start with the sentence starter. If I could fly, I would. Then we'll add details to tell what happens next, and we'll make sure the story has a clear ending. Let's look at my story. I'll read it to you. If I could fly, I would soar over the ocean and see dolphins jumping. Let's take a moment to picture it in our minds. Close your eyes for 10 seconds and imagine what your flying adventure would look like. Now, before we write, let's list ideas. Think about a place that you might fly to: the beach, the mountains, outer space, the city, or maybe the forest. Think about what you might see if you could fly: birds, clouds, rainbow, stars, or animals. And think about who you might meet along the way: superheroes, famous people, friends, or animals. You can use these ideas to help you when it's time to write your story. Now it's time to start writing our imaginative story for If I Could Fly. We'll write 2 to 5 connected sentences that tell the whole story. Here's how we'll do it. Start your story with our sentence starter, If I Could Fly. Add what happens next. Where do you go? What do you see? Who do you meet? Finish your story with an ending that tells us how your flying adventure ends. Let's look at my example. I'll read it to you. If I could fly, I would visit the tallest mountains. I would wave to the birds. Then I would fly home and tell my friends about my trip. See how my sentences connect? That's what makes it a story. Now, take a minute to think about your own ideas. You can use your brainstorm from earlier to help you. Now, let's try a second imaginative writing prompt, the magic box. This is another make-believe story so you can let your creativity shine. Think about, where did you find the box? Maybe in your attic, under your bed, in the forest, or even on the beach. Next, think about what's inside the box. Treasure, tiny animals, a magical map, or something completely unexpected. Finally, think about what happens when you open it. Does an adventure begin or does something magical appear? We'll start with the sentence starter. One day I found a magic box. Then we'll add details that describe what happens next and finish with a strong ending. Here's an example of my story. One day I found a magic box in my garden. I opened it and hundreds of butterflies flew out. Remember, anything can be inside your magic box, so have fun imagining the possibilities. Now, let's brainstorm ideas for your story. A magic box can hold anything you want. It can start an adventure, bring new friends, or even give you powers. Let's jot down some ideas before we start writing. What's inside your box? Treasure, tiny animals, magic dust, or a map? Where did your magic box come from? The forest, the attic, under the bed, or from the beach? What happens when you open the box? An adventure starts, you get a surprise visitor, or you get magic powers. Now, let's write our story for the magic box. We'll follow the same steps we used before. Start your story with the sentence starter. One day I found a magic box. Add what happens next, what's inside the box, how do you feel when you open it, what does it do? Finish your story with an ending that shows how your adventure ends. Here's my example. One day, I found a magic box under my bed. I opened it and a small robot jumped out. The robot said, "Let's go on an adventure." Did you notice how the sentences are connected? That's how we make our writing clear and easy to follow. Take a minute now to think about your box and what's inside. This is your chance to create something magical that only you can imagine. Now it's your turn to write your own imaginative story. First, choose one prompt: "If I could fly" or "The magic box." Then write 2 to 5 connected sentences. Make sure your story has a beginning, middle, and end. Remember, imaginative stories can be anything you dream up. There are no wrong answers. Just make sure your sentences connect and tell the story in order. When you're done, read your story to yourself and check. Does it make sense? Does it have a beginning, middle, and end? And did you use your imagination? You'll have a few minutes to write. Take your time and let your ideas fly. Great job. Today we learned what an imaginative story is. It's a make-believe story that lets us create anything we can dream up. We practice using creativity to come up with exciting ideas. And we wrote 2 to 5 connected sentences with a beginning, middle, and end. Imaginative writing is powerful because it lets you explore places, meet characters, and create events that may never happen in real life but can live in your story. Now, let's share. If you feel comfortable, read your story aloud to a group or to a partner. Remember, there's no right or wrong with imaginative stories. Your ideas are special because they come from you. Great work today, everyone. You took a big step in letting your imagination shine. Congratulations, you made it to the end of lesson 32. Now I have an assignment for you to do. Your assignment is to take a few moments every day and review the lesson. If you find it difficult to do any part of this lesson, remember, you can always rewind this video and practice again. Never move on to the next lesson until you can do this lesson with ease. When you can do this lesson with ease, you are ready to move on to the next lesson. See you there. Now, we have reached the end of this session, but before you go, please, if you've enjoyed this interactive lesson, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And click the notification bell so that you will know when a new lesson is uploaded. Thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure teaching you. Bye-bye.